All right, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. If you're not done so already, give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis here. So, markets really in a chop fest session today so far. Yesterday we talked about the possibility of gap down, waterfall selling. Looked like that first hour that could be the case. We gapped down, rallied back to the flat line, filled the gap, and then went 1-2 down here, first half hour, third candle, little doji there into 10 a.m., and then another little roll over there, and then really just kind of put in this bearish inside bar kind of chop, really over the last, 4 or 5 hours or so. And now we're starting to get a little bit of a squeeze here. So, yesterday I thought that there was a chance that we'd really start to dump out and we see an acceleration today. That has not really happened, and we're starting to get a setup here where if we get a close, and if we get a green close today, which we're not far away from, we got 40 minutes left, and the market did squeeze up a little bit here in the final hour. Some of the stocks we talked about that were weak yesterday, Google, for instance, has been a strong one today. So nice little up move, bull flag, and then pushing up. Microsoft as well. Now again, these same thing there. Now again, these stocks are still weak, big picture. So that has not changed, but in the short term, they've kind of flipped the script a little bit here as you see Tesla now taking leadership to the downside, and Apple showing a little bit of softness too, although Apple is starting to scratch back to the flat line now after the last half hour. So the weaker stocks are starting to bid up a little bit, and some of the stronger names are kind of flipping and showing weakness. But bottom line, we talked about yesterday the fall equinox. That can be a turning point. Often it is, and we've clearly traded down into that equinox. So we could have a pivot here, especially if we get a nice little push up here into the final half hour or so. And the market's positioned for that. Semis were weak all day, and then got a nice little outside candle up there, got above this kind of consolidation. So now it's just really, can it get back above this 197 area? Dow Transport's also getting a little bit of a bid off the lows. We'll cover that in a second. But point is, market does have a chance to put in some sort of a pivot low here. Now, it's not a major low. It's a tradable bottom, but it's not anything I would get overly excited about as a bull. First resistance is up here at 390. Again, that got hit yesterday. Huge volume coming down off of that. Doesn't mean we can't, trade back up into it, though. And, then you have that 20 moving average. And then, again, this convergence right here, this backside trend line, and then this top side trend line here, which will be extended out every day, but that would be kind of like your bigger target there. Also, if we take a look at it, I bet you there's probably a 618 right in that area as well. Yep, so there's your 618 right in that area. So if we got up into that zone, that would be a good resistance area, although these trend lines, or this 20 moving average is down sloping, this is up sloping, this is down sloping. So maybe, it depends on how fast it bounces up there, and if it even gets there. It could, it might not be the 618, it might be the 50% or whatever. But just to give you an idea, those are some levels, some ideas here if we do manage to follow through. And we'll keep an eye on that as we get closer to the close. But triple Qs here, again, we talked about Microsoft and Google, down a little bit more than the rest of the market, down 75 basis points, as the spiders are down just under 40, and the Dow is actually basically flat right now. Dow actually went positive a few minutes ago and is basically flat. The Russell is also leading to the downside as well, down 2% here on the IWM. And this one's been outperforming really since June. So the Russell's taking a pretty good hit, and it's getting a bit off that blue trend line. I showed you guys this yesterday. So right there, getting a little bit of a bounce off of that, which also coincides with this big monthly trend line here as well. So maybe we get one more kind of defense here. It is a little short-term oversold, so wouldn't rule out a bounce here, but the Russell is starting to lead a little bit to the downside as of right now, and kind of big cap tech is starting to take leadership here, namely Microsoft and Google, and then Apple's coming back a little bit as well. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta actually up 1.25 now. Yeah, so Meta was showing some strength earlier, and yeah, Meta coming back as well. So trying to help the NASDAQ 100 out there, but again, we'll see what we get by the close here. But again, your levels on the Qs, 20 MA, right down sloping with that 294, 295 area there on the daily. And then, of course, if you get through that, your next area would probably be that blue trend line again. That was back tested and held. The bears held it. So that is resistance until proven otherwise. But those are the levels there. On the indices, we mentioned the semis here, SMH down 2.25. managed to fill this gap here on the daily. So you're now getting into the June lows here on this, or excuse me, the July lows rather. So the semis did make another lower low, remember, but we're getting into the year-to-date lows either way. And we'll see what we get on the by the close here, but it looks like they're trying to defend it right now. We'll see if they can push it up here. You know, it's really now or never here for the semis, but you know, it is into that level, so we'll see if they do anything with it. And then IGV here, cloud software into your triple bottom. Again, you know, it's now or never. If they're going to defend it, it's going to be now. You are seeing a little bit of a volume uptick here on the IGV, so that may, you know, maybe some institutions are coming in here. It is getting a little bit of uptick here in the last, you know, half hour or so. I can see on my other screen there, but yeah, cloud down over 1% so far on the day. And then the transports, which I mentioned a minute ago, another 52-week low again for the transports. This is getting pretty oversold here. You can see that nice little outside candle. It doesn't look like much, but it actually, this was one of the first things that really started bidding here. If you look at this 10-minute candle, that was at 230. And the market was, you know, this was the market at 230. So transports did get a little bit of an outside bid. So could be a little bit of a leading indicator. Maybe some shorts are getting ready to cover and take profits. There was a very big iceberg order on the futures. I'm not sure if it got filled completely yet, but I know we went down there and touched it, at least on the SPX. Yeah, we didn't get there on the futures. So there is a big iceberg order at 37.50. And part of me thinks that you know, that order was so big that they're kind of front running it right now. And that's why we're getting a push off of the lows. But the SPX actually got to 37.50 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so 37.49 right down there, but the futures never got there. So, you know, if we do trade down tomorrow, maybe that's where we go, but I do think we put in a low, or there's a good chance we put in a low in general here at some point, maybe today or tomorrow. Generally, markets don't bottom on a Friday, so I think it would have to be today. Powell does talk tomorrow at, I believe, 2 p.m., but like, what's he going to say that he didn't say yesterday? So I don't really see the point. I don't think the market's really going to care too much unless he completely changes his tune. But I don't really expect that right now. Either way, so we talked about semis, transports. We got through cloud. Let's look at biotech. I haven't really looked at biotech today. Yeah, biotech back below that 100 MA there. So a little bit of weakness. You want to see a weekly close. Let's look at that weekly. Yeah, we want to see a weekly close above that green bar low at 78.72. So we'll be watching that tomorrow. But this could be a good setup here for a long. I actually kind of like this right here because you actually have I can see a time count on it right now, but first of all, the time count, but secondly, you know, if you bought down here, you know, your stop is tomorrow if you close below 78.72. So, I mean, your risk is very limited unless the bottom completely falls out of it tomorrow. But that would be on a weekly close. I actually like that setup for a long right there on XBI. So not a terrible little look there. Let's look at IBB. Yeah, trying to hold this, trying to get a little bit of a tail candle into this support area. So yeah, yeah, biotech I kind of like right here. I mean, there's risk-reward standpoint, it's not terrible. I would not be opposed to anybody taking along there on the biotech sector. Anyways, let's move on here. So let's get into rates. And again, big picture here. Look at the 10-year. Big picture, again, I'm saying we could have a little bit of a pivot low here, a rally, a bear market rally, another bear market rally. Nothing crazy. We're not looking for new highs or anything. And this is why. Take a look at bonds. 3.708 is what the 10-year finished at today. We're approaching 2011 high. Are we above it now? Let's see. What was this high here? Almost 3.744. So we're almost above the 2011 highs here. So we're looking at just about 12-year highs. If we were to get through that, you know, there would be the 2010 level. But again, this is the reason why it's just a bear market rally, and I pointed this out on Twitter today. 10-year or 2-year down another. Let's see, let me actually look at the yields here. Yeah, the 2-year yield got all the way up to 413 today. And if we look at, I'm just going to flip it over so you guys can see. You know, if we look at where it was on September 12th, the Fed funds rate was, you know, 2.25, 2.3, and this was at 3.6 on September 12th. Since then, it's gotten up to 413. So the Fed's hiked 75 basis points yesterday, and the 2-year Treasury yield is up, you know, another 50 basis points in the last 2 weeks. So their whole aggressive rate hike yesterday has literally been wiped out. So they effectively only hiked by 25, essentially. And that's why they just need to rip the Band-Aid off, which they won't do. And that's why we're going to be stuck in this situation for a long time, and they're going to be behind the curve. But you see the 2-year getting hit still. And there's your reasoning for, this market's not, out of the woods yet. Doesn't mean we can't have bear market rallies, get oversold. There's a triple Qs here, but the triple Qs got to catch up with TLT. And TLT yesterday, looking at the 30-year, another 52-week high for the 30-year. The 30 years back to 2014 levels. I mean, I had a one-day rally yesterday, kind of a risk-off rally, and then right back up. So this is what we're facing right now, and that's why we're still ultimately bearish. HYG now into double bottom there as well. Maybe this will get defended here. It's a little oversold, but this is what we're looking at moving forward. So we can get rallies, and I'll call those rallies out if and when I see them, but really the play right now is to the downside, honestly. So anyways, here, let's look at the home builders XHB. Yeah, so trying to dip down here. Again, these rates are starting to really affect these, these home builders. So XHB losing that support area. And yeah, really next level is down to about 54 there, which I pointed out yesterday. Let's draw this in here so we got it on there. So right in that area there on 54 bucks. Doesn't mean it can't turn around if the rest of the market gets a little bit of a bid. ITB is holding on to this level for now, so showing a little bit more strength. And then the VNQ here making new 52-week lows. Again, very oversold, though, is due for some type of a rally here. So again, rally, we could have a rally short term, could maybe a little bit of relief here. But again, these rates are finally, I think the market's finally realizing, especially these home builders, these should have been a lot lower, a lot longer ago, if you ask me, with the inverted yield curves. But they're just acting like nothing's wrong, and now the market's finally starting to realize, this isn't good for real estate. And XLF as well, now losing this support area. Got to watch tomorrow's close, because that will be a Friday close below that level if they cannot save it. So again, financials starting to act like they should be. Broker dealers here still holding up a little bit better, haven't taken out this pivot yet. But finally, it looks like we're going to get it looks like we're going to get daily confirmation below that 20 moving average so far. So first little sign of weakness here from the broker dealers in quite some time. All right, energy, crude. Hey, again, another nothing burger. Really just kind of refer to yesterday's analysis, and it's just been chopping around for the last 2-3 weeks. I still like it in this area for, accumulation purposes. But one more dip here, I will be buying myself. We did play it to the long side a week or two ago via UCO, made some nice money on that. Pretty much a stress-free trade. We were out of the money for one day and then it ripped right back up. So that was a nice little trade for us, and I will get back into that, and I'll be looking for a bigger move next time. But for right now, crude, basically just kind of hanging in there, not doing a whole lot. XLE, strong sector in a weak market today, up 0.5%. XOP, a little bit on the weaker side, but still holding up okay. Same thing with OIH. OIH is green today. And Nat Gas, finally a little bit of movement here, so down 7.5%. It's trying to bounce off of that $7 even, whole round number. That's not the support level to me. It's really down in this zone between this blue and yellow line, that 200 moving average there on the daily. So we'll see if we can get some movement in that tomorrow. And then dollar index, really just kind of an inside hammer. Par for the course. You had a big surge yesterday. A little bit of a pause candle. Won't make too much out of it. Gold up 0.5%. On the gold futures, nothing great, nothing terrible. You do have potentially a bearish inside bar here on the daily. So a little bit of weakness here in gold futures, but I still like the miners. I'm going to keep saying that till I'm blue in the face. GDX is green today in a down market, as is GDXJ. Well, GDXJ just turned negative, so scratch that, not GDXJ. But SILJ also still showing relative strength. We talked about that yesterday. Higher lows here versus the price of silver, lower lows. But this pattern here on silver is very good. I mean, this is very strong. So I like silver here. You guys know that. Nothing's really changed. Platinum as well. Again, continuing to pull back a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see it pull back into that 870 area and put in kind of a higher low, and then it will have legs for a move up. Palladium also kind of just stuck in a range right now. And then copper here. Looking at copper, also kind of just hanging in there, basically a sideways day. Again, you don't want to see it take out this pivot here. That would be a negative in my book for copper. All right, and then Bitcoin here, really kind of a nothing burger today as well. Maybe this was kind of forecasting. So we said yesterday, like, we had high volume, and it was down yesterday, but it wasn't down as much as you would think with how beat down the market got. So maybe this is a little bit of a leading indicator that, hey, Bitcoin wasn't down that much. Bitcoin's risk on. So maybe the market isn't going to be down as much. And we're actually seeing the market float up here a little bit as we get into the final hour. At least it's hanging in there, but we're not breaking down in any case. So maybe that was a little bit of a leading indicator, but Bitcoin has held up relatively well the last 2 days. Ether, still watching that head and shoulder, and that's still in play here, but it's hanging in there for now, and pretty much everything on the screen here that I've got in the crypto space is green and decently green. So maybe, again, maybe it is a little bit of a leading indicator of some risk appetite or short covering that is to come shortly. Anyways, yeah, let's see, it's about 3:30 p.m. Markets are hanging in there. They're not breaking down. If we can if the market can turn green, and I'll just, more importantly, this level on the hourly is 377.66 on the spiders. If you get an hourly close above that, that would negate that inside bar pattern there, and you can see the same thing on the triple Qs as well. So right there on the Qs, that would be 282.94. So we get an hourly close above that. You have a failed pattern here on the hourly, and that would be a pretty good positive, considering all the other things that we talked about. Oversold, you're into kind of a pivot candle right up there on the Qs, as well as the fall equinox. So we'll see what we get here moving forward. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.